Day grade 9 students, I welcome you again with our next lecture video. So this time we're going to discuss about the nature and roots of a quadratic equations. So last lesson you discover on how to get or to find the roots of a quadratic equation by using four methods. The first one is the extracting the square roots. Next is by factoring, by completing the square, and lastly by quadratic equation, which is this one. X is equal to negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, the binomial inside the radical sign of a quadratic formula, which is this one, is what we call the discriminant. So, ang kaning nasa sulod sa atong radical sign in quadratic formula, b squared minus 4ac, that is what we call the discriminant. So, kaning discriminant nato, it is used to determine the nature of the roots of a quadratic equation. So we can also determine the number of real roots of a quadratic equation with this number. So ma-determine nato ang nature sa roots, and mahibalan po nato aside from nature sa root ang iyang number of real roots. So let us try to look the table on how to determine the nature of the roots as well as the number of the real roots of a quadratic equation. So kung ang discriminant daw is equal to 0, so if b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, so the nature of the root is a real number and it is equal. So therefore equal man siya, so isa lang ang iyang real roots. Unsa man ning mga real numbers? The real numbers includes the rational, irrational, the integers. Unsa man ang mga integers? So negative, 0, and positive numbers. So negative 3, negative 2, or negative infinity to 0 up to positive infinity. That is, or those are the real numbers. So if it is equal to 0, therefore the nature of the roots are real and equal. So the second one is if the discriminant is greater than 0 and a perfect square. So we can say that the nature of the roots are rational and are unequal. So rational siya but they are unequal. So the example of rational numbers are this one, negative 3, negative 2, or negative infinity. Unsa pa nga number diha? 0, 1, 2, 3, positive 1/2, positive 1/4, and so on and so forth. Okay, and the number of real roots ma-determine nato as 2. So na say duha ka roots or duha ka values of x kung ang discriminant nato is greater than 0 and a perfect square. So what do you mean by perfect square? So ang perfect square, it is a product of a rational numbers multiplied by itself. So product na siya nga makuha nato kung i-multiply nato ang isa ka number sa iyang kaugalingon. Say for example ang 16. So it is a perfect square kay it is a product of a number nga kung i-multiply nato itself ma-equal sa 16. Unsa may square, unsa may iyang root ana? 4. So kung ang 4 i-multiply nato by itself times 4 will be equal to 16. So the third discriminant classification. So if the discriminant is greater than 0 but not a perfect square, so the nature of the roots are irrational and unequal. And the number of real roots there is 2. So duha ka buok ang real roots niya or the values of x, irrational and unequal. So the example of irrational numbers are square root of 2, square root of 4, or pi, or and so on and so forth. Last classification is b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. So kung kanang mahitabo less than 0, so the nature of the roots are imaginary numbers or no real roots. Wala siya values of x, kay imaginary siya. So therefore, there are no number of real roots. So to understand more about the nature of the roots of a quadratic equation, let's have an example number 1 for our case number 1, which is b squared minus 4ac equals 0. So unsa ganito siya? If equal to 0 daw siya ang discriminant, the roots are real and equal, and there is only one real roots. So first example, find the discriminant value of x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals 0, and determine the number of real roots. So to start with, we're going to determine first the values of a, b, and c of a quadratic equation. Now since this quadratic equation is already in standard form, we can now identify the values of a, b, and c. So our a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 12, and the values of c, the value of c is equal to 36. So nanatay values of a, b, and c. Now we're going to use the discriminant formula. So we have b squared minus 4ac equals 0. Okay, so substitution. So our b is negative 12 squared minus 4. Our a is 1 and b is equal to 36. That is equal to 0. The square root or the squared of negative 12 is 144 minus, what is 4 times 1? That is equal to 4 times 1 is equal to 4 times 36, that is equal to 144 all over, it is equal to 0. So 144 minus 144 is equal to 0. So therefore, nagsatisfy siya sa atong case number 1 nga the discriminant is equal to 0. So therefore, ang atong nature of the roots is real and equal, and the number of the real roots is only 1. So we can check that one by using by getting the real roots. So ang atong given is x squared plus 36 equals 0. So pangitao nato ang iyang values of x by using, you can use different ways in how to find the values of x. Now this time we're going to use factoring. So we are going to have x. So what are the factors of 36? The factor of 36 are 9 and 4, 6 and 6, or 12 times 3. So look for the factors of 36 nga kung i-add nato siya ma-equal siya og negative 12. Okay? So look for factors of 36 nga makita ninyo diri 9 and 4, 6 and 6, 12 and 3. Nga kung i-add nato silang duha ma-equal siya og negative 12. So we have negative 6 and negative 6. Kay kung i-multiply po nato siyang negative 6 times negative 6, mahimo siya og positive 36. Kung i-add nato ni sila, negative 6 plus negative 6 will be equal to 12. So using the zero product principle, x minus x equates to 0, as well as the other factor x minus 6 equates to 0. So our x is equal to 6. Sa pikas pod, x is equal to 6. So parehas ra siya og equal ra siya og root. They are the same root, which is 6. Therefore, isa lang ang iyang real roots. So inana na siya. Next is we're going to discuss about the case number 2. Case number 2 states that b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0 and a perfect square. So kung kanang mahitabo daw, ang is nature of the roots are rational and unequal. So there are two real roots. Say for example, find the discriminant value for the equation x squared plus bx plus 6 equals 0. And determine the number of real roots. So again, we're going to find first the values of a, b, and c of the given quadratic equation. So since it is already in standard form, so maka-identify na ta for the values of a, b, and c. Our a is equal to 1, b is equal to 5, and c is equal to 6. So since nakuha na nato ang value sa a, b, and c, we can now use the discriminant formula. We have b squared minus 4ac. Substitution. Our b is 5 squared minus 4 times a is equal to 1 and c is equal to 6. What is 5 squared? That is equal to 25 minus 4 times 1, 4 times 6, we have 24. So 25 minus 24, that is 1. And 1 is greater than 0. So greater than 0. So therefore, mauna siya ang roots ana niya are rational and unequal. So there are two roots sa atong given nga quadratic equation. How to check that one is to get the roots of the quadratic equation para ma-determine nato siya kung rational ba siya and unequal. So we have x squared plus b plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. So we're going to factor the quadratic equation, x and x. So what are the factors of 6? We have 6 times 1, 3 times 2, and what else? So wala na, mura na factors. So look for the factors of 6 nga kung i-add nato silang duha, mahimo siya og 5. Mahimo siya og 5. So therefore kaniya tong gamiton. 3 and 2. Okay, 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. So we have positive 3 and positive 2. These are the factors of a quadratic equation nga given sa atong example. So next, what we're going to do next is to use the zero product principle, equate each factor to 0. So we have x plus 3 equate as 0. The same time, ang x plus 2 i-equate nato sa 0. So to get the value of x, we have x is negative 3 and also x is equal to negative 2. Gitranspose nato ang positive sa pikas na side, that will become negative 3. Sa other side, ang 2 na po, positive 2, gitranspose sa the other side, that is why nakakuha ta og negative 2. Okay, so they are rational numbers. Ang negative 3 are rational numbers, and also they are unequal. So therefore they have two real roots, which is negative 3 and negative 2. There are two values of x. Those are negative 3 and negative 2. That is for the case number 2, b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0 and a perfect square. So let us proceed to the third case, which is the b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0 and not a perfect square. So kung dili daw siya perfect square, ang atong discriminant nga greater than 0, so ang nature of roots ana are irrational and unequal, and the number of roots nila are duha ka buok. Okay, kung dili daw perfect square ang discriminant nga greater than 0, ang nature of roots nila is irrational and unequal. So let's try to look at the example. So describe the nature of the roots of a quadratic equation 2x squared minus 8x plus 3 equals 0. So again, it is already in a quadratic or in standard form. So directly identify the values of a, b, and c. So we have a equals 2, b is equal to negative 8, and c is equal to 0. Okay, so nakuha na tong value sa a, b, and c. So we can now substitute the values to our discriminant formula, which is b squared minus 4ac. So substitution, we have negative 8 squared minus 4, 2 is our a, and c is equal to 3. Sorry, 3 ang atong value sa c. So we have 3. Next, negative 8 squared is equal to 64 minus 4 times 2 is equal to 8 times 3. 8 times 3 is equal to 24. And that is equal to 40. 64 minus 24 is equal to 40. Now 40 is greater than 0. So greater than 0 siya, pero dili siya perfect square. Diba? Dili siya perfect square. So again, ang meaning sa perfect square, unsa to? The product of a rational number multiplied by itself. So dili siya perfect square. Okay. So let us try to check kung ang iyang real root. So since kuan man gud siya, since 40 is not a perfect square, so we can now say that the nature of the roots are irrational and unequal. So ang value sa x niya is irrational and unequals, and there are two real roots. Now to check that one, so we're going to solve for the values of x. Kini pangitao nato ang values of x ana para ma-identify nato kung irrational ba siya and unequal. So ang this time we're going to use the quadratic formula. So sa to atong quadratic formula, we have x is equal to negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So this is the quadratic formula. So substitution, value of b is negative 8 plus minus negative 8 squared, or minus na siya, minus 4, our a is 2 and our c is equal to 3 all over 2a, which is 2. Okay, next, negative times negative, mahimo siya og positive 8 plus minus, we have square root of, this is 64, 8 squared, negative 8 squared is equal to 64, minus 4 times 2 times 3 is equal to 24, all over 2 times 2, we have 4, equals, we have 8 plus minus square root of 40 all over 4. So we can split this one as, so duha ka book ang roots niya. x1 is equal to 8 plus square root of 40 over 4, and the other root is, or what we call the x sub 2, 8 minus 4 square root of 40 over 4. So ma-simplify pa nato ni siya as 2 plus square root of 10 So ma-simplify pa nato ang square root of 40 as 2 square root of 10 all over 4. To the other side, we have 8 minus 2 square root of 10 over 4. So simplify, we have 8 divided by 4, we have 2 plus 2 divided by 4, we have mas simplest form as 1/2. So we have square root of 10 over 2. That is for the x sub 1 or the first root. And for the second root, we have 2 minus square root of 10 over 2. So the roots are irrational. Anong irrational man? Kay naa man say square root nga sign, sa other side na square root sa sign, and they are unequal. So dili sila equal. So the nature of the roots are irrational and unequal, and there are two roots in the said given quadratic equation. Next, for our last case, which is the case number 4, b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. So kung less than 0 siya, if they are less than 0, ang iyang discriminant, ang nature of the roots daw niya are imaginary, and if they are imaginary, so there are no roots or wala siya value sa x. There are no real roots. Say for example, we have 2x squared plus x plus 3. 2x plus, so identify the values of x. Sa atong quadratic equation, we have a equals 2, b equals to 1, and the value of c is equal to 3. So using the discriminant formula, we have d is equal to b squared plus a minus 4ac. Substitution, we have the value of b is 1 squared minus 4, a is 2, and c is 3. A squared is 1 minus 4 times 2 is 8 times 3 is 24. And 1 minus 24 is equal to negative 23. So kay negative 23 man iyang discriminant, and negative 23 is less than 0. So we can expect nga ang nature of the roots niya are imaginary and no real roots. So wala say real roots. Okay? So para ma-check na to sa atong pag-describe sa nature of the roots, so let us try to solve for the value of x using the quadratic equation. Napod, we have x equal to negative b plus minus square root of 4 or square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have negative b is 1 plus minus square root of b is 1 again minus 4, a is 2, our c is 3 over 2a, and a is equal to 2. Next is bring down the negative 1 plus minus square root of, what is the square root of, or the square root of 1 is 1 minus 4 times 2 times 3 is equal to 24 all over 4. 2 times 2, 4. Next, we have negative 1. Negative 1 plus minus square root of 1 minus minus 24 is equal to negative 23 all over 4. So we have x1 that is equal to negative 1 plus square root of negative 23 all over 4, and the x2 is equal to negative 1 minus square root of negative 23 all over 4. So wala siya root since naay negative, or it is an imaginary number. Nganong imaginary man? Kay naay negative sa sulod sa radical sign, which is negative 23. Sa other side is also negative 23. So therefore, there are no roots if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and we're going to see, or are going to add some more lecture video in the next lesson. So thank you for watching.